My unit, salute! We got a big amped up coming at you on this Thursday, May 29 of the year 2025. A big Dynamite went on the air live last night post Double or Nothing. What did Tony Khan deliver? We're going to talk all about it. I have the amplified Dynamite review coming up in this upload. We're also going to talk Raw and SmackDown. I have the latest numbers. So if you ever wondered how true are the words that BC spits on this channel about Raw and SmackDown, it's just so harsh. It seems a bit negative. It wasn't that bad, was it, BC? Raw and SmackDown? If you ever wondered how true my words are in these reviews, these numbers are going to back up every single word, and you shouldn't be shocked. If you follow this channel, you won't be. If you actually watch Raw and watch SmackDown and you truly know how bad it is, you won't be shocked by these numbers. That's why we call it amplified truth. And it's Rachel Zegler all over again from Hollywood when she said, "I don't need your business." And that's exactly what happened, right? Snow White and Disney didn't get the business after that, and the movie flopped. Because you can't tell your consumers to fuck off. And that's literally what Hunter Hearst Helmsley did, Paul Levesque McMahon. He said, if you don't like the product, you're not even a real fan. And then he said, fuck off. That's a quote, by the way. Those are quotes. So you shouldn't be shocked when fans actually said, okay, we'll fuck off. Cool. Good luck. Good luck continuing to say business is booming every week, every month, every year. Good luck with those sellouts. Because if you're telling your audience to go away, eventually they're going to go away. These numbers are showing you that's happening. We'll talk about it. That's your teaser. In fact, that's the end of the cold open teaser, because our big story that we're going to jump right into, that doesn't need a teaser. I want to get right into that story, and that's WWE putting up a show against AEW. We've been seeing it happen more than usual recently. You're not going to believe what's happening. July 12th, 13th weekend. You're not going to, but yeah, if that date sounds familiar, that's obviously the big All in Texas event. That event was being talked about even before Double or Nothing, which just went live this past Sunday. And what a show, by the way. I'm still trying to get over the whole anarchy in the arena, man. And that main event. And even Mercedes and Hayter. What an event. But All In. That's the event that was talked about even way before Double or Nothing. That's one of their biggest shows in their history. Their short 6 to 7 year history. All In. And WWE knows that. You're not going to believe what they did, so that's what we're going to talk about right now. And from the jump, I just want to say this. For anybody going, well, all is fair in love and war. WWE has every right. AEW doesn't own weekends. You're exactly right. In the Attitude Era, they used to have WCW, WWF Monday Night Wars. And WWF was taped a lot. They just didn't have enough money like Ted Turner. So Eric Bischoff would have Tony Schiavone on air. This was live. No joke, this was live. He would have Tony Schiavone give all the results of what was going to happen in WWF television, WWE, WWF Raw that night. So you'd know all the results. They would stay on the air 5, 10, 15 minutes later, knowing that WWE could not extend their time. They didn't have that type of a deal with USA. So they had to end right at 10 or 11. Turner Network could stay on the air as long as they wanted, so they did that. So even if WWF had a good cliffhanger, the last thing you were talking about was WCW Nitro, because that's the last thing you saw and heard. There were all these tricks that Bischoff was playing in Ted Turner, and all is fair in love and war. I hear you. I've just never seen it this underhanded. This much of a low blow after a low blow, because that's what it is for a company that's on cloud nine, recording record revenue is what they're claiming. The greed is at an all-time high. They shouldn't even be focusing on AEW. But it's pretty clear that that's exactly what they're focusing on. We all can agree on that, right? This is no longer just a coincidence. When they did this over the last couple of years, an NXT event would just happen to fall on a big AEW night. or they would run something against the Dynamite. You were kind of like, it just happens to be, that's where it fell. And WWE was kind of like, hey, screw it. We're not going to change it. Let's have some fun competition. No harm, no foul. I totally get it. What happened at Double or Nothing, that was an absolute, that is as deliberate as could be. That was strategically placed to put Battleground there. Even if Battleground didn't do better numbers than Double or Nothing, it was just there to fuck with AEW. You know that. I know that. But it's what WWE is doing on the weekend of July 12th to July 13th. That is the ultimate cock block. That is the weekend of the huge AEW All-In Texas event. As I've said many times, their biggest event of the year. I truly believe it is that event. They've been talking about it for so long, planning for this for so long. And that is where WWE decided to put their Saturday night's main event. Saturday night, the 12th of July. So Tony Khan says, all right, we're going to be 3 p.m. Right? 3 p.m. Saturday. No conflict. We're not going to play this game with WWE. They want to go live at 8 p.m. Saturday night's main event. You can catch us at 3, still on pay-per-view. So WWE has this press release go out. Evolution, the second ever Evolution, the all-women's pay-per-view PLE event. That's going to be the same weekend. Sunday night, the 13th of July. So basically, you have 2 WWE events going against this one Saturday afternoon AEW show. And somewhere along the lines, Petty Paul Levesque and Dirty Nick Khan, the other Khan, who both have an issue with Tony Khan, if you don't know. We'll talk about that in a minute. They said that's not enough. We, just like Battleground went head-to-head with Double or Nothing, we have to have a show that goes directly against All In. Of course, that makes no sense. It's not like a WrestleMania weekend. You wouldn't double deck your shows, right? You wouldn't double book your event day. It's too much wrestling for your own audience. You're burning your own audience out. It's bad enough at WrestleMania. There'd be no reason to do that in a random weekend in July, right? Right? No, there is a reason for WWE. They have a problem with Tony Khan. They want to squash out and hinder AEW. So they're willing to double book their event day on the same night that Saturday night's main event is. Less than 24 hours later, Evolution, on that Saturday afternoon, head-to-head with AEW All in Texas, WWE is delivering NXT, Great American Bash. Saturday afternoon is all we know. A specific time has not, as of this recording, been announced. But this is the official presser that went out. The official presser reads as follows. This is a quote from WWE. The State Farm Arena will host Saturday night's main event on Saturday, July 12th, and Evolution on Sunday, July 13th. The Great American Bash will emanate from Center Stage Theater on Saturday afternoon, July 12th, prior to Saturday night's main event. So that's the big question mark, because a time wasn't put out there. A lot of fans are like, maybe it won't go head-to-head with All in Texas. Well, no matter which variation of timing you come up with, it's absolutely going to. It could go right at 3 p.m. That would be a real injustice to the fans that want to catch Saturday night's main event. The more likely situation is 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. So either way, if your event is just 3 hours and you started at 1, you're still going to basically 4 p.m. You're not getting All In if you've already missed an hour of All In, because All In is 3 p.m. So you wouldn't, you'd be hard pressed to chuck over $50 when you missed an hour or more of the show. And that's only if it starts at 1 p.m. No matter what, they have totally engulfed the weekend when this was from the jump. All In was the first event scheduled. I have told you guys from the jump, man, all is fair in love and war anyway. WWE is not doing anything wrong, per se. They are in other ways, but nothing that's not legal, nothing that there's no law or rule against this. It's business. That's competition. They can run 5 events on Saturday and 10 events on Sunday. Nobody can say a damn thing. Totally correct. And I've said from the jump, when WWE goes head-to-head with AEW or NXT, I say, dude, it's it. Battle, bring your A game. They have every right to do such. Is it dirty at times? Absolutely. Sometimes I believe it's just a conflict issue. I've even said before, WWE, they can't... WWE cannot just schedule around AEW. They have to run their own business. And if AEW gets in the way, and vice versa for AEW and WWE, then that's the way the chips fall. WWE cannot walk on eggshells because of AEW. I've said that from the jump. So if WWE has to double book onto an AEW show and they're going to go head to head, then that's how it is. Because WWE has to run their business too. That's just how it is sometimes. But on that same side of the token, there's a line that you clearly are crossing when you're deliberately putting your shows against the competition. And I think this is the first time that as a whole wrestling, no tribalism either, but I know that exists. People that only love AEW or only love WWE, and that's the company they're going to fight for. But if you put tribalism aside, right? Just a pure wrestling fan, any real wrestling fan can now come to the conclusion that WWE is doing this deliberately. This isn't just a scheduling conflict, right? This isn't just, it happened to have been this way. AEW happens to have been on that date. This is deliberate, right? Before WWE runs a show anywhere, they always check what date they're going to be on, what shows are going to be running on that day. And it's not just sporting events. That's a reason you won't see a pay-per-view on the same weekend of the Super Bowl. You never have, you never will. Because they know. It's one of those things where you're always, before you pick a date, you want to see what sporting event is running shows. If there is a championship game, a playoff game, you want to see award shows, things like that matter. They'll still go against them, but you need to know what your competition is for the night you're running the premium live event. So they absolutely always know when AEW is running a show. This isn't like they just plan these shows and they found out afterwards that AEW was running a show. No, they pay a lot of people a lot of money to do their due diligence and put their ducks in a row and know these things ahead of time. And then they come back and they tell Nick Khan and Hunter Helmsley and all the suits and ties, and they were like, screw it, let's do it. This is exactly what we want to do. In fact, let's put a show directly against All In. We booted them from the 8 p.m. slot on Saturday night, the 12th of July. Let's go right against them in the daytime, too. So we'll have a daytime event, a nighttime event, and then the following night, 3 WWE events. By the end of it, nobody will be talking about AEW or All In. That's their game plan, guys. That's their end game. That's their goal. I hope any wrestling fan calls it down the middle. You understand that. Even if you do spark tribalism and you fall one way or the other, AEW or WWE, by now you know that that's what's happening, right? So if you're team WWE, you're happy about it. And if you're rocking with AEW, you're probably not happy about this at all. Is it a dirty thing to do? No question. Just like when Shivani was reading results about WWF's taped show back in the day. or running after the 2 or 3 hour time slotted show. I mean, yeah, those were dirty tactics back in the day. This is absolutely dirty. Tony Khan was asked about it at the presser at Dawn, and he said, we haven't seen this type of counter programming since the Crockett days, but he says, I assure you this time it's going to end differently. I love that, right? He's like, we got the bankroll, whether it's Papa's, mine, Grandpa's. We have enough money to endure this. We have enough wrestlers. We have enough support. It ain't going to end with WWE buying us or stomping us out is what he's saying. This is going to end differently than the Crockett days. So he's aware of it. And he even said, yeah, this seems to be happening a little bit more than coincidentally. He knows what's happening. And I think that was before he even knew that Great American Bash was going head-to-head with his All In. That's just when he knew Saturday night's main event was hitting the airwaves on that night. And then they were putting Evolution the next night. And then he finds out, like we all did, that Great American Bash is going live while his All In is live on pay-per-view. That is wild. It's truly, I've watched decades of wrestling. I have never seen a cock block to this level. And this goes back to what I was saying with Paul Levesque, McMahon, and Nicholas Khan, the other Khan, WWE's Khan. They don't like Tony Khan at all. Paul Levesque McMahon clearly because Tony beat him. This was the baby of Hunter, right? Which he took from Dusty Rhodes, but that's another story. But this was, and it was paid for always by Vince, but that's another story. NXT started getting beat by AEW in the ratings to the point where Helmsley he took off. Oh, I'm taking another role with the main roster. You got beat out though. At least take the L, but just take the L properly and move on. Instead, what he said was, congratulations, you beat our developmental program. What do you want? What do you want? A parade? Some cookie? What do you want? Congratulations, you beat our developmental. But when NXT was riding high, oh, this was the big thing, we're doing something so special. And he was calling AEW the pissant t-shirt company. You guys remember that? These are quotes. Helmsley has always been this smug. It's not just recently when he calls you not a fan because you don't like what you're watching. You think the show sucks, so you're not a real fan. This isn't just him telling you to fuck off. He doesn't need your business. He's always been that smug. He's always made fun of fans and told them to fuck off. He's always went behind his own talent's back. When he was a talent, he was always up Vince McMahon's ass. He was always in that office. He was always sucking up. He was always in it for himself, man. This is what he always does, right? He calls the competition a pissant t-shirt company, and then when he's beat by it, he says, congratulations, you beat a developmental show. He downplays it to the most belligerent degree imaginable. It just was not a good look for the dude. And he has carried that with him, man. He does not like the fact that Tony Khan and AEW just surpassed WCW Nitro. And they're still on the airwaves. And a lot of weeks, they're right there. For the longest time, they were above NXT. They're right there with them yet again, crawling right back. And they're trying to snuff it out now. They don't want AEW to continuously be better than NXT in the numbers. They don't want that to happen. They see NXT dropped a bit. They see AEW coming back a little bit. They're trying to snuff it out now. Put Battleground against AEW for Double or Nothing. Put Great American Bash against All In July 12th. That's their new strategy. It's not a coincidence anymore. WWE is putting NXT up against them. They're trying to get any viewership or any number decline imaginable for AEW. Shed some of those numbers off. And it's evident. And it's wild, man. I can't believe they're putting 3 events within 2 nights. Saturday night, Sunday night, and now a Saturday afternoon show. They're double booking their Saturday. You don't see that. WrestleMania weekend's the only time you truly ever see that. And that's when they put NXT before, that's their, what do they call that? Stand and Deliver, I believe, right before WrestleMania Night 1. And fans have been telling them for the last several years, it's too much. You can't do that, man. Put it on Friday night, switch over Smack, do something. Hall of Fame's got to be pushed over to a Wednesday. I don't care. Make it a week-long thing, but you're squishing too much. You're burning out your fans. So what's their answer? Do it again a few months later in July. There's no reason on a random July weekend that you would put 3 events on when you know AEW is putting on one of, if not their biggest show of the year. Again, all is fair in love and war. I got it, man. We were around for those Monday Night Wars. We know. PC has seen it all. But it's still worth a discussion. I'm still stunned that they're making it this obvious. At least for the last couple of years. They were throw one here, throw an NXT event against them here. Weekly television, maybe a PLE. But now it's just every single big AEW show. WWE is cock blocking them with a counter show. It's wild, man. July 12th, All in Texas, 3 p.m. And now that same afternoon, right up against them, will be NXT Great American Bash. We just saw Sunday night that WWE did that with Battleground and Double or Nothing. This is becoming a new theme. And it's one of those things, man, where it's like, why are they so focused on AEW? We talked about why Paul Levesque McMahon is, right? He's got that vendetta. He got his ass whooped. His NXT brand got whooped by AEW for so long. They're starting to come back a little bit. He needs to make sure they don't surpass NXT or WWE. They don't like that. They don't like when there's another game in town. They want to snuff everybody out or buy them. That's why they went to all the wrestling schools. And they want to make sure that they have a WWE ID logo on their school. I told you that wasn't good for the industry. It's monopolizing. They're monopolizing professional wrestling because when the schools now have a WWE ID logo, they have to basically conform to the WWE way. That's what they want. And if you don't, we'll take our logo away and you won't be an accredited school because those students will know you're not part of WWE, right? That's the whole, we have a WWE logo with the ID program. They know what they're doing. They want these wrestlers to be a part of their system from the jump. AAA, they'll buy them. TNA is going to be purchased eventually by World Wrestling Entertainment. But AEW is the company they know they can't buy because it's not about money for Tony Khan or his pops. It's not about money. It's about the love for professional wrestling and their brand and what they want to produce. And if fans want to watch, viewers want to watch, awesome. They're going to be on to be viewed. And if not, that's their prerogative. But they're not going to be snuffed out or bought out. And WWE can't stand that. It's the one thing in pro wrestling they don't have a handle on, AEW. That's why Nick Khan is also frustrated. And if you don't know, Nick Khan has a little personal beef with Tony Khan as well. You remember the interview with Ariel Helwani? And Tony Khan said, yeah, we've had conversations or something like that. And he didn't want to elaborate. So then about a month later, Ariel had Nick Khan on. And Nick is like, I've never talked to this dude. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't. And the way that Nick was talking about Tony, there was just like Nick had this issue with him. So Tony and Nick have this. I don't know if it's so much Tony to Nick. Nick doesn't like Tony. We already know that Paul Levesque McMahon doesn't like Tony. So now you got Nicholas Khan and Paul Levesque McMahon in these meetings together. And then all of a sudden you start seeing all this counter-programming. Put 2 and 2 together, guys. It's not that hard to figure out what's happening here. The conglomerate giant known as World Wrestling Entertainment is very focused on little old All Elite Wrestling. And they got to be careful because this little vendetta they have with little old All Elite Wrestling could end up being a detriment to their own product. Because now they're double booking their own event days. 2 events, it's not even WrestleMania. You're burning out your audience. You're not allowing fans to digest what they just witnessed for Great American Bash because you're going right into Saturday night's main event, and then you triple book the weekend because then the next day you have Evolution. What are we digesting? And then you go right into Monday Night Raw 24 hours later with the main roster in totality. So what are we truly being able to digest, think about, and talk about? What are we talking about? Are we talking about NXT, Great American Bash? Are we talking about Saturday night's main event for the main roster? Are we talking about the women in Evolution? Or are we talking about what's coming up on Monday Night Raw in a few hours? What are the kids going to school supposed to talk about? It's summertime, July 12th, whatever. Kids riding their bikes, adults showing up to work around the water cooler. What's everyone talking about? You're double and tripling, you're triple booking your weekends, man. Just because of this petty war you have with All Elite Wrestling. Who's winning here, man? Tony Khan is putting an event on a Saturday afternoon. That doesn't hurt WWE at all. They have to be careful, man. I've seen this before with Vincent Kennedy. They let these things get too big and their egos and their stubbornness get too big, and it becomes a detriment to themselves. So WWE is the conglomerate, and they can easily do this type of stuff. They can put 3 different shows in one weekend and totally engulf little old All Elite Wrestling All In. But it doesn't look like Tony Khan's flinching, and I think that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? He's the big bully is not going to just push down. They're just going to continue to do their own thing. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, so far, Tony Khan is not hitting back really hard on the social doohickey or on his shows, not that I've seen. And I hope he doesn't. Conduct your business on these events in those rings, man. That's the best way to do it. When the event is over, wouldn't it be wild if people are talking about what happened at All In and not the 3 events that World Wrestling Entertainment put on? Because let's be honest, WWE shows today are lazy, they're redundant, they don't have a pulse. Boring wouldn't even begin to do it justice word-wise. These shows suck from WWE today. So all 3 of those shows, I wouldn't be shocked if there's nothing truly newsworthy that comes out of it. But this is the ultimate cockblock from WWE to AEW. Make no mistake about that. And I just don't know who wins in this scenario. Definitely not the fans. We're getting burned out. 4 events, 1 weekend. Why? Why does WWE have to have a WrestleMania-esque weekend because Tony Khan wants to put on a WrestleMania-esque show for his company? Because he really wants this thing to be big. So WWE said, let's run an entire weekend of a bunch of shows. Who wins, man? Not your talent, because even if you do produce anything good, nobody can talk about it for that long. There's so much other stuff to talk about. You got to go into Raw. So the talent's not winning. You're cutting your own audience in half for all of your events because a lot of your fans are not going to be able to catch all 3 shows. They're just not going to be able to. I mean, people are probably going to have to get something done on the weekend, right? They probably have lives, most likely. So you're cutting your audience in half, so that's not good for the company. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for the talent, all because of this petty, weird shit you got going on with Tony Khan and AEW. But this is WWE. I would expect nothing less, to be honest with you, sadly. Because they truly believe they can just walk over anything and everyone. We got to wrap this discussion up, but it truly is just stunning because you kind of get jaded to this wrestling thing when you've been watching for decades and you think you've seen it all. But then you come across a story like this and it's just wild, man. Placing another event right up against All In. Tony Khan moves it to the afternoon, so there is no conflict. He's like, you can watch our show, you can watch WWE that night. So then WWE puts another show the next night and another show directly against their Saturday afternoon All In. They add 2 more shows to the weekend, totally engulf All In. Upping the ante from just putting Battleground against Dawn this past weekend, Sunday night. I mean, it's just a wild story, man. WWE knows they can't snuff out AEW. They can't buy them out. So they're going to try to take any momentum, any steam, or any success that All Elite Wrestling is trying to build. That is dirty. Again, whether you think it's right or not, that's your prerogative. But we all can admit it's dirty. Just like when Shivani was doing that back in the day and they were running the overlays. It was dirty. What do you think? It's all fair and love and war? That's fine, right? Or listen, they have every right to do it. Not against the law, not against the rules. But it still can be dirty. And it's clear that there's just this little vendetta that Paul Levesque McMahon and Nick Khan have with Tony Khan. And wow, I that's such a big story. That's all. Like I said, we'll just keep running in circles. I'm just absolutely stunned by this story. Interested to see if you guys are just as stunned, or because WWE's kind of been headed this way for the longest time. The greed and the egos and the stubbornness and all that. It's kind of, this is pretty obvious. You know, they're not used to not getting their way. And they just look like AEW is just something that just won't go away. So they're like, we will make the fans talk about us on your big event day. That's what it looks like it is. But it looks like Tony Khan he's not backing down or going anywhere, man. He's like, this is going to end differently than the Crockett days. If WWE thinks they're just walking over us until we just go into a submission, not happening. We'll see, man. But if you guys haven't heard, that's a real thing, man. They are triple booking the All-In weekend with nothing but WWE events. Wild. Move on. Swig of coffee. We're going to go to SmackDown and Raw's rating, and then we're going to talk AEW Dynamite. So that discussion went a little longer than I wanted to. I think because I truly am, like, as I'm talking about it in this upload for this recording, I'm really, like, contemplating it for really the first time, right? Like, I'm really starting to think, like, wow, man, that's such a ballsy move. It's the ultimate cock block. It truly is. I've never seen anything like that. What WWE is doing on July 12th and 13th. So that went a little bit longer. So I'll keep this discussion a little bit shorter. We're going to talk some SmackDown Raw numbers. SmackDown. Last week's SmackDown pulled in a 1-3 rating. 1-3 some odd. So if you're wondering, 2 weeks ago, 1-4. Last week, 1-2-9. This week, 1-3 some odd. So over the last three, your average would be roughly 1-3. 1-4 2 weeks ago, 1-2 last week, 1-3 here. We'll call it a 1-3. So basically, from their debut in September, which was 7 or 8 months ago, 400,000 viewers said check you already. Their average is 1-3. So when Hunter said, fuck off, basically, we don't need your business, right? You're not even real fans. If you don't like the product that I'm giving you, nobody does. Your WrestleMania season sucked. WrestleMania sucked. Every event after that sucked. You're lucky John Cena even turned heel. All of that would have sucked. SmackDown sucks this week. SmackDown always sucks. Raw sucked this week. Raw always sucks. And like always, every time we talk about it, most of you guys know because unfortunately you saw the same show. So you're like, yeah, this sucked. It was boring, lifeless, lazy, repetitive, redundant. But there's always some that are like, I don't know, basically. I mean, I liked it. I like some of this. This was good, and this was good, and I like the triple threats. Okay, that's great. I mean, this sounds harsh, but I don't care what you like. I don't even care what I like. We're talking about what is actually factually good and not good, so we can make this thing better. This isn't just what we liked, and you like the triple threat. Did you? Did you like the triple threats? Did you like Penta and Chad Gable and How to Train a Dragon Lee? Did you like it? Was it good wrestling? Did you like seeing Chad Gable look up at the lights again? Are you enjoying Penta's ride over to Money in the Bank? You're going to see Penta in the bank? Seriously, that's awesome if you did. Did nothing for BC. Nothing. I saw a wrestling match. Yay! I can see wrestling matches. I have great wrestling matches all the time, anytime. Any day of the week on TV. Any night of the week at the local bingo hall. Twice on Saturday, 3 times on Sundays. I don't care about the wrestling. What, that makes it a good show now? Finn Balor and Seth Rollins and Samuel Zayn. What a triple threat. It was a stupid wrestling match. That's all it was. It led to nothing. Seth Rollins is going to Money in the Bank. Yeah, let's see him with another briefcase. What a stupid storyline. I don't care about the title. I want power, so I want the briefcase. Schmuck, what do you think the briefcase leads to? You offered Sami Zayn a free title shot if he just moved to a brand. So clearly, Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins have enough stroke to get title shots. But he instead wants to get into a qualifying match just to qualify to go into a ladder match, which Michael Cole says takes years off of your career, go through the other 5 dudes just to get the briefcase that just gets you to another match you have to go through to get the title. That's not power, that's stupidity. That's stupidity. And one of you guys brought up a great point. You know, a good heel like MJF wants to do the least amount of work imaginable and get the most profit and get the most glory from it. The most adulation, the most prize at the end of the tunnel by doing the least. Seth Rollins, as a heel supposedly, with his sing-along that makes him seem like he's a face when he comes out, but he also wants to be still a workhorse. He wants to go through all the flaming hoops. Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. And that's what your main event gave us. Seth Rollins wins. Okay. But the wrestling was good, basically. Okay, the wrestling is not my... You're always going to get good... Look at all the wrestlers today. It doesn't matter what organization. Doesn't matter what school. It doesn't matter if it's the local bingo hall. Of course you're going to get good wrestling. That's not a wrestling show. And then they bring out CM Punk in the final 10 seconds. 2 weeks in a row, they used their biggest star, arguably, now not even arguably, he's bigger than Jey Uso, obviously, on Raw. Who else? Seth Rollins, for sure. Who else is on Raw, man? Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, obviously. Sami Zayn's a mid-carder. And that's being generous. CM Punk's your biggest star on Raw. And for 2 weeks, they have him coming out in the final 10 seconds to GTS, Seth Rollins. And I'm supposed to, when we do the review, and the microphone's lit up, and the camera goes live, and I'm supposed to go, what? Oh, what a Raw. Wow, these triple threats. Did you see CM Punk? If you blink, you missed him, but he came out in the last 10 seconds. And Paul Levesque McMahon put his name right over him, so when he was out there in the last 10 seconds, so was Levesque McMahon's title. He wanted it right over Punk. What do you want me to say, guys? Liv Morgan came back. Everybody's blowing their load over Liv Morgan. It was hilarious. I'm like, everyone relax. She's been gone for 2 weeks. I like Liv Morgan, but 2 weeks and everybody's like, she's back. Thank goodness. It's been 2 weeks. Somebody was like, it's been almost a month, Leslie. It wasn't 2 weeks. It was almost a month. Okay, so 3 weeks is what you're saying. Not fully a month. So it was 3 weeks. She was going, oh my goodness, I missed a week. How did we ever make it through 3 weeks without Liv Morgan? People blowing their load like this was the return of all returns. Liv Morgan, she was gone for a few weeks filming a movie. Relax. You got to go outside more. If Liv Morgan returning was why I was supposed to say this was a good Raw. Nothing else happened. Nothing. Literally, I can't even recall anything that went on in this show. It was that bad, that lazy, that stupid. So now you go, okay, well, did the facts back that up, BC? You should know they always do. They always do. Now Netflix is always 7 days behind, so we're always in the previous week. But I said the same thing about last week's show and the week before and the week before, and I'm always correct. So was I again with the latest Raw numbers? Raw's number, just like SmackDown, pulled a 1-3. Down 400,000 from their debut 7.5 months ago. Raw, this latest number that Raw pulled in for Netflix that we got, 2.7 global viewership. 2.7. They debuted at 6 million just a few months ago, January 6th. They debuted at 6 million. When they lost half their viewership in less than a month, everybody was like, oh man, we got to start building back up now. BC said, you ain't building up shit. You think 3 million is bad because you got cut in half in less than a month? Bro, this product is so bad, you're going to start losing even more viewers. You're going to 2.5 and below. And some people are like, nah, basically, that would never happen. And what happened? They went to 2.9. Then they went to 2.8. Now you sit at 2.7. One person in this community was always honest with you guys, man. As harsh as it may have sounded, as much as it may have sounded, we were nitpicking, being too negative. No, we were being honest. And look what the numbers are telling you. While everybody else will bullshit you and say it was a good show, BC's telling you the truth. And when the numbers come out, one of us is correct. It's BC in the unit. 2.7, guys, globally. Do you remember when WWE couldn't wait to go to Netflix because they were touting we're now going to reach 700 plus million viewers? Well, where's the other 698 million? 2.7 global. And if you're wondering, they're down 100,000 watch hours. Guys, that 2.7 global viewership is not just for one night. And again, that's global. Their domestic US is always between 1.2 and 1.4. So even they've lost 300,000 US domestic since debuting and coming off of USA. But this is for a whole week of streaming hours. That 2.7 is for 7 days, not one Monday night. That's why this makes it extra bad. And again, if you're wondering, the latest numbers we have, they lost 100,000 plus watch hours from the week previous. 100,000 less hours watched from the week previous. So when BC tells you these shows are that bad, that's how true that we are being. That's how the amplified truth works on this channel, man. We're not bullshitting. I'm watching it. I put what I like and don't like aside. I'm telling you what is good and what is bad because it needs to be said. Because this is a trend that has been happening over time. And I've been trying to raise that flag and go, guys, look, this is not good. And everyone's like, nah, it's okay, BC. It's just a WrestleMania lull. Or it's just a bad Mania season, BC. We'll get them again next year. No. or how about the months leading in, right? All of the end of last year, everyone was like, yeah, these shows are not too good, but I think Hunter's just saving everything for WrestleMania. Remember that's what we were hearing from everybody? He's just saving everything for Mania, that's all. So we're just going to get a poor October, November, December. But everybody relax, because starting in January, it's going to heat up. It got even worse. This was the worst WrestleMania season we've ever seen. And we've seen 93, 95, those years, right? 94. This was the worst. And then after Mania, you've seen what we've been getting. And I'm always honest with you guys, and the numbers always come out, and they always back up what I'm saying. SmackDown pulled a 1.3, latest numbers. Raw pulled a 2.7 globally over 7 days, latest numbers. Lost over 100,000 hours in watched viewership. I don't bullshit you guys, man. It'd be different if we cut these reviews and I'm ripping these shows apart, and then the numbers come out and they shows that they gained 400,000 or 500,000 viewers and people were really banging out on it. They loved it because it was good. Then BC would come on and be like, dude, I was, wrong on that. Wow. Okay, I totally looked at the show one way and the rest of the world said, no, I guess it was good. Nope, it's not what's happening. I'm ripping these shows apart because it's justified, because nobody else will, and we have to speak the truth on it. And when the numbers come out, boom. If you're ever wondering, man, it's not a pat on the back either. You could I'm not patting myself on the back. I don't want to be ripping these shows apart. So we're hoping that they take this, they take what we're saying about the shows and they fix it. It's clear we know what we're talking about by now. And instead, they don't want to. They just want to say you're not even a real fan, so fuck off. So no, we're not going to... We were watching wrestling before Hunter Hearst Helmsley was in WWE, most of us. Or a lot of us. So no, we're not just going to walk away because Hunter told us to. If anything, okay, we're not a fan anymore. We'll be a critic, and we'll review these even more vividly. And this company's not going to like that because the shows are not good. So if you want me to be a critic reviewing it and not a fan, all right, cool. You're not going to like that, though. 2.7 global. Yeah, just a few months ago, they were at a 6 million debut. 3.3 million said, oh, no thank you, this sucks. But they kept 2.7 so far. So far. They're going backwards, guys. Swig of coffee, we're going to talk some Dynamite. AEW Dynamite. This was Wednesday, the 28th of 2025, post Double or Nothing. So this was a big show, man, and they kicked it off with a Hangman, a Will Ospreay, and a Swerve. Swig of coffee, let's talk about it. Dynamite 5/28/25 post Dawn. This was a simplistic formula that Tony Khan delivered for this week's Dynamite. Start the show with a promo, end the show with a promo, and a whole lot of wrestling in between, aside from a 90-second-ish interview involving Jamie Hayter. But just as TK did at Dawn, bookending the Owen Hart finals, Mercedes and Hayter to start Dawn, Hangman and Ospreay to end Dawn. Dynamite, he flipped it, but stayed with the bookend style of booking. Hangman, the winner of the Owen for the men, starting the show. Mercedes, the winner of the women's Owen, ending the show. So how did it work out? Let's talk about it. Adam Page starts this show. He takes the mic from Tony Schiavone, but it wouldn't take long before Swerve would work his way out. Swerve is not happy. He plays a video from a month ago, back in April, of the Young Bucks, alluding to working with Hangman and costing Swerve his championship opportunity. So Swerve wants answers. Was this all a part of his plan? Hangman, the Young Bucks, whoever else. So Hangman answers back, "Listen, dumbass," that's a quote, by the way. "Listen, dumbass, if I wanted to screw you over, I'd do it to your face as I've done in the past. Is that good enough for you?" Swerve goes, "Maybe, but I still think you're full of shit." And they go nose to nose. This brings out Will Ospreay to the ring. He says Hangman is their last and only shot at taking that title from Mox, and it's in the best of all three's interest to work together. Swerve knocks the mic out of Ospreay's hand and starts screaming at Will for even suggesting that he work with Hangman. This was great. So then Swerve storms off. Subsequently, Hangman starts screaming at Will too for suggesting that he work with Swerve. And then Hangman storms off, leaving a frustrated Ospreay middle of the ring. So everybody's yelling at Will. Will's just trying to get everybody together. Can't we all just coexist? This is such an interesting dynamic given the wild matches we've recently gotten between all three of these dudes. And every variation, obviously the wild multi-month, near year-long feud between Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, obviously, but recently at Dawn with Ospreay and Hangman. And wasn't it Forbidden Door, I believe, last year where you saw Swerve and Ospreay rock out? So you just think of all these incredible matches that these three have been in, intertwined. And now the concept that they need to work together if they're going to take that title off of the Death Riders. It's an interesting concept. If you think about it, any of these dudes could be the one taking the title from Mox and being the guy in AEW. Like, it's more than believable. It's not like a Jey Uso situation from WWE, where it's just, if we're being real about it, just seeing the world title on tag team Jason Uso, it doesn't look, it looks weird. It doesn't feel like that. It's just no. You know, that's cute that he sells some t-shirts and the yeet things over and the kids like the dance, but it's just like, dude, you're tapping out Gunther do his own move in 8 seconds. It's not believable. Whereas this, right, he's knocking people out with spears, choking people out in 8 seconds with their own move. It's like he's super Oos all of a sudden. I just make that comparison because when you look at any three of these dudes, you could literally see them at the top, and it's believable. You don't need a one-word catchphrase. You don't need to sell a few extra t-shirts. You don't have to turn into Super Ospreay or Super Hangman or Super Swerve. It's just believable. So it's pretty cool that AEW has these three that Tony Khan can choose from. And I think that you don't have a wrong choice. And the fact that they're going Hangman, or are they? Could they wait for Ospreay London to take that thing? Maybe it's not Hangman. But at least raises questions that you actually want answers to. What a lost art. What a concept in pro wrestling in 2025. There's not enough of those type of situations where you actually want to see where it leads to. So, interesting little dynamic there, man. I hope it just doesn't lead to a bunch of 6-man tags. The faces and death. I don't need to see any of that. But hopefully the story develops in an intriguing way because it has potential. Then we go into the first matchup of the night. This was the aforementioned Riders defeating Briscoe, Speedball Bailey, and Willow Nightingale. A little post-Anarchy in the Arena exhibition that saw Mox pass out Briscoe, forcing the ref to end the match. This was clearly a post-pay-per-view consolation prize for the heels because the faces had to win Anarchy in the Arena Sunday. That's obvious. So this was just a reminder, Death Riders haven't lost a step. Usually 50-50 booking is detrimental to the talent and the situation that they're in. 50-50 booking doesn't do anything for anybody. But this is a situation where it's really no harm, no foul. Death Riders had to eat that L Sunday. So this was just a quick W in response. Don't forget, we're still winners. But does it do anything? Absolutely not, right? So this is 50-50 booking at the best case scenario. It's not detrimental. It just doesn't do anything. Nobody that went into last night's Dynamite that already had enough with the Death Riders. And there's a lot of fans, AEW diehard fans, that are just done with Mox, done with the Death Riders. Those type of fans did not leave that matchup. Or when that matchup was over, they didn't go, oh, all right, now I'm on board with the Death Riders. Chances are they still feel the same way, maybe even more so. But at least it wasn't detrimental. It just didn't do anything. 50-50 booking. You take the L on Sunday night, and then 3 nights later, you're taking a W. Against a weird concoction of Briscoe, a Speedball, and a Willow. Moving on. This was pretty badass, man. This was a no DQ women's matchup, tag match. Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford defeating Carly Cameron and Anna Jay. These ladies weren't just using steel chairs, steps, and tables. They were swinging steel pipes and 2x4s. A doomsday device would have Cameron looking up at the lights. And Hartley was busted up, too. I believe her nose got rocked. So with these type of situations, with these matchups, and when they rock out like that, you know what BC says. Get 'em, girls! And then we went into a weird in-ring interview with Renee Paquette interviewing Jamie Hayter. Paquette just asks, after losing to Mercedes at Dawn, what's next for Jamie Hayter? Hayter responds, good question, what is next? The lights then go out, and when they come up, it's a toxic spider, Tekla, formerly from Stardom, now signed officially with AEW. And Tekla, she drops Hayter, and then she does a spider walk to the B-cam, and the segment just ends. Huh. This was all within 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds, maybe, if I'm being generous. Could we have maybe made this a bit of a bigger deal with a touch of creativity added in? I mean, it seems like somebody scribbled this into a coloring book with a crayon, and it was booked by Hunter Hearst Helmsley. This was so odd. It's almost like they had 60 or 90 seconds to fill. Or it's almost like they forgot about this, like they had it planned, they booked the show, and 10 minutes before, they're like, oh my, wait a second. Where's Jamie Hayter's segment? We're debuting a new wrestler. We gotta fit it in somewhere. This was it was like if you blinked, you missed it. If you went to the bathroom real quick, you missed the entire segment. I'm not joking. Not joking at all. If this was more than 90 seconds, I'm amazed. I mean, maybe BC was actually 3 minutes. I'd be amazed. It was so quick. That's what she said. But no, for real, it was so quick. I'm like, what? That's Jamie Hayter's rebuttal to the big loss that she suffered 3 nights. That's what you had planned for her? That's on top of a big debut? They could not have made this feel any less important. The broadcasters tried, I guess, right? Oh my goodness, it's a toxic spider! That's the toxic spider from Stardom. Like, oh no, that's a bad spider if it's toxic. Careful of that, Tekla. It's not just an average spider, it's a toxic one. She good too, man. I've seen a little bit of her work, but I just don't understand how this was beneficial to anybody. This was just a very weird filler segment. Maybe they felt like they just needed a promo. You know, you're starting with a promo, you're ending with a promo, but it's nothing but wrestling in between, and you do have to kind of break away a little bit. But I don't know. Just as I put in my notes, I mean, could we have maybe made this a bigger deal with a touch of creativity added in? This was so odd, man. I don't know. I have a lot more I could say on it, but it's probably, I'll just be going round and round with the same wordage, just in different variations. So I think it's best if we just move on. Adam Cole, baby, defeats Kyle Fletcher via DQ, and Josh Alexander interferes, taking out Cole. Brody King to the ring for the save. Following a commercial, we have Brody versus Alexander. It's a Fyter Fest Fatal 4-Way qualifier for the International Championship. Hopefully you got all that. So I can't stand these type of things. I say this all the time when I cover WWE. You know, you're qualifying just to get to another schmaz, or a fatal qualify to get to the Fatal 4-Way for a shot at the mid-card championship. And it's like, just set up a feud. Take all of these weird qualifying shit that you do and just set up a story. Nobody cares about all this qualifying for everything. You got to qualify over here. Over here, there's a tournament. Over here, you got a schmaz to get into another schmaz. Don't overcomplicate pro wrestling. It's simplistic. Heel, face, storyline. Incredible feud. We got to whip out our wallets, take the money. We have to see what happens at the pay-per-view. Don't overcomplicate this, man. This is not fun. Qualify to get into the Fatal 4-Way. Yeah. So we can get to a Fatal 4-Way with 4 dudes wrestling. Do all your gymnastics or whatever. Nobody cares about it. Anyway, Brody pins Alexander. Alexander was busted open too, like Harley was earlier. So I think Taz was like, you're going to need some stitches after that. It did look like a pretty gnarly gash. I don't know if it was stitches worthy, but it was a gnarly gash. To Alexander. Hey, made Brody look badass. That was really your main event wrestling-wise. Brody versus Alexander. I don't know, man. Is that the best that Tony can present? But his main event segment was reserved, as I said at the beginning of this review, for the Women's Owen Hart final winner. That was Mercedes Moné. And Toni Storm, the Women's AEW champion. So this was their first official face-to-face, I believe, correct? On AEW television. Mercedes and Toni Storm end this show. And I'll just give you some of the lines that BC really liked in this face-to-face interaction. Mercedes looking at Tony and saying, I'm the Beyonce of AEW. And the crowd started chanting, no, you're not. No, you're not. I thought that was awesome. And Mercedes played into it like she was like, she could not fathom that the crowd was saying that to her. And then Mercedes tells Tony, you're not the shy little girl I met 10 years ago, but I'm not a boss anymore either. I'm now the CEO. I thought that was pretty cool. Again, distinguishing between the boss and the CEO. It's one of the same, kind of, but you can see that maturity in character. I didn't mind the boss. That was one of my fave characters when she was in WWE. The boss, her theme music, her original Sasha Banks theme music, her presentation, I didn't have a problem with any of it. But there is a maturity, and you see that and you hear that in Mercedes. So it's important. She's done that several times, making that distinction between boss and CEO. So that was a good line. Just saying, like, I see the maturity in you, Toni Storm, and where you have progressed to, but just understand that I've done the same. So that was pretty good. And then Toni Storm telling Mercedes, while you want all the titles, I need only one. And this was so well done because Mercedes is standing there with like 3 championships, I believe, right? She lost one recently, but one on her left shoulder, one on her right, one around her waist. And Toni Storm just has her AEW, her one championship laid out in front of her on the canvas. And she's looking at Mercedes and she's motioning to all her titles and saying, while you want all the titles, like that's the difference between us. While you want all the titles, I need just one. And she points to the one in front of her. Just thought that was really well done. And then Toni Storm telling Mercedes, while Mercedes, I do believe you're the greatest of all time, I happen to be timeless. I thought that was just a really good line. Like, you are I understand. Just as BC tells you guys all the time. Tony knows it. Tony was in WWE, man. Everybody's greatest match, or one of, is Sasha Banks when she was there. She knows that. And when she got to AEW and she gets this nice contract and whatever creative control she has and whatever date she gets to work, it's because the talent knows how talented she is. So Tony comes right out and says, I do believe you're the greatest of all time. But I'm timeless, right? There's that hidden meaning in there. It's not just a gimmick. Oh, I'm timeless. She's telling Mercedes, I can outdo you. I can surpass you. I don't know if that's possible. That's how good Mercedes is. But it's letting Mercedes know that, I still have a lot of time. And you haven't seen the best of what I can do and what I am yet. Oh, but you will in Texas. So I like that. You know what I mean? It was a very good face-to-face interaction. I felt the end of it was sloppy. I think they had better intentions. They start with a handshake, mutual respect. Tony kisses the glove of Mercedes, which was white, and she has that bright red lipstick, so it left a little bit of a, that kiss. I like that. Tony sniffs Mercedes. Weird, but it is what it is. And then they kind of like pull each other close, like they won't let go. Like, okay, it started with respect, and now like there's that, they're trying to one-up one another. And then Mercedes goes to get her in her move. Toni Storm flips it over, tries to get her into position, and Mercedes is able to escape. It just was pulled off a little messy. It was almost like they were so into their promos. When it was time to get physical, it's almost like these are two really good wrestlers. Mercedes, one of the best I've ever seen for females. And it's almost like they were just a little, it was kind of odd, They were kind of like trying to set up and like, wait, what are we doing? I think they were really into their promos, though. I don't know. So that the actual ending could have been much better, but the promo itself was good. So all in all, in totality, this AEW Dynamite, was it as good as it could have been? I don't think so. But Tony Khan coming off such a big event on Sunday night, he wanted to have that big bookend and a whole lot of wrestling in between. He accomplished that. Do I need to see Ops in Frat House? Of course not. Does that do anything for BC? Of course not. But it might for a lot of fans. So good for you. For BC, no thank you. I didn't even put any notes with that. That's no thanks. Ops and Frat House. No, the Ops doesn't do anything. I like Samoa Joe. They're doing nothing for me. Do I need to see Kyle Fletcher and Adam Cole lead into Brody versus Alexander to try to get to a fatal four-way? A qualifier for a fatal four-way involving Brody and Alexander? Of course I don't. Of course not. Jamie Hayter in a 90-second segment to bring out Tekla's debut? Lights go. How stupid. I don't know. What is next? Wink, wink. Lights go out. I mean, could it have been any more quick and forced and just nothing was believable in that, man. It was so just corny. What is next? The lights go out. So, yeah, it was rough. There was good parts. The best part about watching an AEW show, and I've said this for several weeks, and it's as honest as can be, it's at least that there's a fun aspect to it. And I don't get that with WWE. I have to make a comparison here because it's just like WWE. You watch a show, Raw on Mondays or SmackDown, and there's no pulse to it. I mean, it is boring. It is lazy. It's just so bad, man. It just sucks the life out of you. It's exhausting. It's a chore to get through a Monday night and a Friday night show. With Dynamite, I don't get that feeling. I do feel like anything can happen at any moment. I do feel like the shows flow better. I'm more interested. So they're doing that right. And I have to always keep in mind, as do you guys, it's not about what we like and don't, right? A lot of you guys may have really liked that show last night. There was a lot of things I just didn't. But it's about what is good, what is bad, what is working, what is not. So as long as Tony Khan always keeps that in mind, man, AEW will continue to progress and try to take on this behemoth that is clearly trying to derail it and snuff it out by counter-programming. But as long as AEW keeps that feeling of fun or that anything can happen or interest or intrigue, that is a really good starting point, and they're already there. But I felt that last night's show coming off of Double or Nothing, man, I had a little bit, maybe not expectations. I don't have those for pro wrestling anymore, unfortunately. Hopefully one day I can get those back. But I had a little bit maybe higher hopes. But there was some good, man. Again, it really rested on Hangman and Mercedes last night. So when you ever think, were those the right choices for the Owen Hart? Yeah, I mean, they were the brightest spots of last night's show for sure. And that's what I got for you, man. AEW 5/28/25. Dynamite's review and today's amped up for the 29th of May of the year 2025. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we are BC in the unit. We're saying check you. Salute.